this confusion, I'll wander the concrete.
Little man, Hakeem, don't be in my house when I get back.
Where's my daughter?
He's in the ER, man, with the best doctors that we have.
Listen to me. Your problem is nobody's told you what you're good at. Well, I'm telling you now, you're good.
And so we used to take that wax and take those rags and we would line up. Get a good education. Before you get old, a good education is better than gold and silver. In my culture, we sometimes put a little yeast in it and let it rise. They call it swagger now. So we all had a little swagger. Mine was, get a good education before you get old.
The worst TV dad of all time?
Why are you tripping now?
Because now you look like a tramp.
Some Moesha fans have thrown around the title for Frank Mitchell. Now let's take a trip back to the golden age of sitcoms, the 90s. If you were a fan of Moesha...
Give me your plate, I'll fix you some real pancakes.
You touching my plate, punk, and you gonna pull back a nub.
Then you remember Mr. William Allen Young, the man who brought Frank Mitchell to life as Moesha's strict but loving dad. His mix of tough love and support may have had us rolling our eyes back then, but we can all relate now. But what's William Allen Young been up to since the Moesha days? Born on January 24th, 1954 in Washington, D.C., William Allen Young was raised in the heart of South Central L.A. during the Civil Rights Movement.
And I grew up in Watts at a time where there was a lot of civil unrest. In fact, I was a child during the 65 riot. We knew we didn't have much. We just sort of made do with what we had, but we had great dreams.
William has a story fit for Hollywood. He was one of 7 kids.
And there were 9 people in my family, and we slept in 2 rooms, and sometimes we'd have to sleep together in the same bed.
And his biggest inspiration? His mom, Joan Walker. Now let me tell you, this woman, total badass. A high school dropout turned maid who went back to school at night while raising 7 kids. She not only finished high school, but became a licensed nurse. That's a major glow up. Joan wasn't just about surviving. She was building a legacy, and she definitely passed the drive onto her son, William. You can totally see where he gets it from, right?
My mother said, I have to start working. She applied for jobs. She's a dropout. And the only job that she could get was as a maid. So I have to tell you, my mother was by profession a maid. She used to go to folks' houses and clean them, sweeping and mopping floors, cleaning walls, toilets, bathrooms, you know the drill. But she never stopped believing in the power and the value of education. And so to her children, she passed on this value. When my mother would come home, she would rest for about 5 minutes, and then she would go to the cupboards, and she would grab all of the rags we had there, and she says, everybody line up. My mother would have all 7 children line up, and as we came by single file, she would pass out all these rags to us. And as she had passed them out to us, we started wrapping them around our knees and around our elbows and one in our hand. And then in the open hand, she would give us a big gob of wax. Because we had hardwood floors. Some of you may not know about that. And on those hardwood floors, you had to take care of them. There was no maid at our home. And so we used to take that wax and take those rags, and we would line up behind my mother, single file. My father at this time, by the way, was in the hospital sick. He was there for over a year. So it was my mother and 7 children. And she said, everybody down. So we'd all get down on our hands and our knees, elbows, knees, and wax. And she would say it now. You know the drill. Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. Now that was the easy part. And then as we began, she said, repeat after me. Get a good education. Before you get old, a good education is better than gold and silver. May wash away, but a good education will never decay. She learned that poem when she was in Anderson, South Carolina. Her grandmother taught it to her and said, don't ever stop the lifelong pursuit of education. And so even this maid, as she was then, taught that same poem to her children. She said, let's go get a good education before we get old. Now, by the way, in my culture, we sometimes put a little yeast in it and let it rise. They call it swagger now. So we all had a little swagger. Mine was, get a good education before you get old. Good education is better than gold and silver. May wash away, but a good education will never decay. Get a good education before you get...
William Allen Young had dreams, and I mean that literally.
About these dreams I had of getting places. Well, flash forward, I ended up going to USC and realizing, of course, it wasn't far from where I lived, but in my mind, it was 1,000 miles away.
His dreams came true when he went on to the University of Southern California and snagged a degree in rhetoric, debate, and forensic science. But he didn't stop there. He then went to California State University, Los Angeles, where he picked up a degree in sociolinguistics. If you're wondering what that is, honey, I'm right there with you.
I was interested in studying, as an actor, obviously, people and behavior, and I wanted to extend that into understanding communities. And social linguistics is basically the study of society throughout human history by studying the languages that they use. And it's amazing in studying social linguistics how much I learned just about how we behave, not just as individuals, but as people, as societies, as nations. And when you think about what's going on in the world now, that becomes really important. So that's why I chose social linguistics as a major.
That sounds super smart. This guy went from mastering words and languages in school to owning every scene he steps into on screen. Oh yeah, William went from debate champ to big screen star. Deciding to give Hollywood a shot, he got his start with guest spots on hit shows like Cagney and Lacey and The Jeffersons.
Ernie!
Lawrence.
What's your way?
Okay. Arnold, listen. You have your partner open the door.
A pretty fab lineup for a newbie, huh? But his real breakout moment came in 1984 with the film A Soldier's Story.
Come on now, everybody knows it was a Klan.
Not only did he land a major role, but he got to work alongside a young Denzel Washington. Yup, Denzel. Talk about a career catapult. From there, William was unstoppable, eventually landing his iconic role as Frank Mitchell, Moesha's dad, which made him a household name.
Daddy, I hope you're not upset about these because they were on sale.
Girl, did you leave your mind where you left the rest of your clothes?
William Allen Young totally loved being on Moesha. He said the set was like one big family, all chilling and creating magic together. Playing a dad dealing with the ups and downs of family life really hit home for him. But Moesha wasn't just about laughs. It tackled serious stuff like race, identity, and family. Young was proud to be part of a show that sparked real conversations. And get this, he even got to direct a few episodes. Talk about a power move. All in all, Moesha was a total game changer for Young's career. It was fun, meaningful, and a major stepping stone for him. Cue the juicy plot twist that had everyone talking.
Well, good for you, Frank. You finally brought your son home. I knew you'd do the right...
One of Moesha's most controversial moments came in season 5 when it was revealed that Frank was actually Dorian's biological father.
Dorian, this isn't how I wanted you to find out.
Find out what? What are y'all talking about?
I'm not your uncle, Dorian. I'm your father.
What?
This bombshell left both the characters and the fans totally shook, setting off a whirlwind of family drama. Trust issues, family secrets, and relationship fallout? Oh, they dove right into it. Cheryl Lee Ralph, who played Dee, Frank's wife on Moesha, spilled some tea about the infamous plot twist. She felt that the show had created a warm, loving black family, something so rarely seen on TV, only to throw it all away by making Frank's character a liar with that infidelity reveal. She was like, why ruin this family? Word is, some people behind the scenes thought the family was too perfect, saying, we don't have black families like that. So they pushed for the drama, and let's just say it didn't sit well with everyone. While Cheryl Lee Ralph didn't hold back on her disappointment over Frank's infidelity storyline, William Allen Young has been pretty tight-lipped. But let's be real, he probably had some feelings about the plot twist too, especially since it messed up the whole family dynamic. Young loved playing a strong, loving black father figure, and he was all about positive family representation. He always plays these smart, family-oriented black men, and that's because he's like that in real life. He's been married to his wife, Helen Patrice Moore, since 1986. And let's be real, going Hollywood nuptial standards, they're practically dinosaurs because, honey, they're still going strong. Who needs Tinder when you've got a love like that? They've built a beautiful life together and have 2 kids. It's clear that family is everything to him, both on and off the screen. He often talks about how important it is to have a strong support system, and it's clear that his family is his rock. So, while he may play these complex, sometimes flawed characters on screen, in real life, he's a devoted husband and father. And that's something we can all admire. After Moesha, William Allen Young popped up everywhere, especially in a ton of crime shows. From CSI to NCIS,
Yeah, I've heard of it. And you've done it before?
he was like the one-stop guest star for all things detective and drama. I mean, you could probably make a whole Where's Waldo game out of spotting him across the crime show universe. We're talking CSI Miami as the no-nonsense Judge Joseph Ratner. But the big move was when he joined the main cast of Code Black.
Emmanuel. He was a pastor.
A medical drama that had people hooked from 2015 to 2018. He played Dr. Raleigh Guthrie, the warm, wise, and seasoned doctor we all wish we could have.
Dr. Layton, pulse check that leg.
This role showed a whole new side to his acting chops, and he even became a fan favorite on the show. Now, let me tell you, Dr. Raleigh Guthrie is the guy you'd want in any medical emergency.
Listen to me. Your problem is nobody's told you what you're good at. We provide our patients with medical care here. We don't judge them.
He's had guest spots on General Hospital, Madam Secretary, The Jeffersons.
You know, this is the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me.
Oh, really?
And The Women of Brewster Place. Like, is there any iconic show he hasn't been on? These days, you can even catch him in 911 Lone Star on Fox. Oh, and don't sleep on his film creds. He starred in the Oscar-nominated A Soldier Story back in 1984.
So they lynched Jefferson the week I got here. Now, 2 weeks after that, it was...
And was part of the hit sci-fi film District 9 in 2009. Yep, another Academy Award nominee. Williams' career has been all about powerful roles and pushing for more diversity on screen, making him a total legend in the biz. William Allen Young isn't just keeping busy in Hollywood. He's also all about giving back. Off-screen, he's out there making a difference. He's got a secret identity as a philanthropist. He started this nonprofit called the Young Center, where he's empowering young people to make a difference in their communities.
As I said, I grew up in South Central LA, and I remember I was doing well, and I had finished doing a film in Europe, and I was living in Paris for a while. So I came back from Paris. I had a lot of money in the bank, and I came back to speak at my high school, Locke High School, right in South Central. And I just looked around in the community, and I just thought, this is just unacceptable. There were students who were truant and just hanging out in front of the schools. There were no youth centers. They had closed them all down. There were no theater groups that I took advantage of when I was a kid. There no arts. Everything just seemed to have disappeared. And in the absence of it, there seemed to be no leadership at all.
It's like a real-life superhero origin story. He's all about leadership and cultural enrichment, especially for youth who might not get these chances otherwise.
So what I did was I took my own money and I started what was then the Young Foundation. And what I did was I recruited an army of teachers, college students, retired professionals, parents, to go into the schools, especially the schools that had been identified as failing schools. And we said, no, we're not going to let these schools fail. So the foundation pulled together this all-volunteer army, and we went into the schools to save.
It's like he's playing the real-life role of a community superhero, helping raise the next wave of leaders.
I wanted to create a culture of success in communities where there just seemed to be this culture of death and this imminent, I am not going to live past 21. I found that unacceptable. I said, no, I lived here and I can't alone do this, but I can begin something. That was the Young Foundation. We partnered with the LA Unified School District to deal with initially 13 failing schools that they had identified. They called them the priority staffing schools. We went in and we turned it around. So they asked if we would expand it. Then in 2000, after we had done free breakfast programs, after we had done the tutoring mentoring program, we opened up the Young Center for Academic and Cultural Enrichment, which was housed on the campus of my alma mater, USC. And what we did was we said, now we are going to develop the future leaders of these communities because we don't have leadership and you need that to sustain it. So we started a program called the California Youth Think Tank, and it was a leadership development program. And we recruited students from all over California, primarily students from underserved communities. And we built up a think tank. And every year they identified and addressed and proposed solutions to the challenges facing the youth in their community. After all of their research, their deliberation, their citywide debates, they came up with their solutions.
So yes, William's still an acting legend and a community game changer. William Allen Young isn't just a Hollywood star. He's also a mentor extraordinaire. He's all about giving back and helping young actors and creatives reach their full potential. He's like a real-life fairy godfather, sharing his wisdom and connections to help them succeed. He's especially passionate about supporting underrepresented voices and giving them a platform to shine. It's clear that he's not just in it for himself. He's committed to building a better future for the next generation of artists, and we're all here for it. But this man is not short on power moves, honey. Back in 2000, while serving as co-chair of the African American Steering Committee at the Directors Guild of America, he was instrumental in brokering a landmark TV network agreement that was all about diversity in Hollywood. Young knew the entertainment industry needed a major shakeup, so he got all the big players together: Directors Guild, Screen Actors Guild, Writers Guild, you name it.
We did a lot of work to bring everybody to the table, first of all, just to get everybody to the table. The Directors Guild was really helpful with that. The Screen Actors Guild was helpful. The Writers Guild, all of the guilds were helpful.
They united for a common cause, making Hollywood more inclusive for writers, directors, producers, and actors of color. And William didn't just stop there. He helped establish a grading system for studios and networks. It was like a report card that put the spotlight on whether they were really walking the talk on diversity.
And as a result of it, we actually began a system where the studios and the networks were given grades each year. And it was publicized, certainly in the LA Times. They began to show Disney, Paramount, MGM, whoever it was, ABC, NBC, CBS, here's how they're doing. And that grade represented not so much that they had arrived, but any progress that they had made. So there was discouraging news at times, there was encouraging news at times. But at least we would know how we were doing. So we could always maybe put a little fire under the studios and the networks who had fallen back, and maybe they weren't aware of it. So they could actually use that as their own test for whether or not they were making progress or to say we can do better.
The best part? This agreement wasn't just a one-and-done deal. It's an ongoing process that keeps the pressure on networks to keep improving. William's legacy here? He's been keeping Hollywood accountable and making sure diversity isn't just a trend. Oh yeah, Young is making sure they don't just talk the talk, but walk the walk. A real-life superhero, fighting for diversity and inclusion in Hollywood. Gotta love it. William Allen Young went from being the OG TV dad to a mainstay on dramas, a community hero, and a mentor to young actors. The now 70-year-old with a net worth of about $5 million may have left the Mitchell house, but he's definitely not left our screens or our hearts. He continues to thrive in his career and personal life, and if you're looking for true inspiration, look no further.